Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to solve a particular but important problem, and that is that how to find a factorial of a number in JavaScript. When I say factorial of a number n, it means that we multiply all the numbers from n down towards the 1. For example, if I write here that factorial of 5, so what is mean by factorial of 5? If I say that factorial of 5, it means that we multiply all the numbers from 5 down towards 1. For example, if I write here 5 multiply by 4 multiply by 3 multiply by 2 multiply by 1. So this is the meaning of factorial of 5. Okay, so factorial of 5 is 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So that's how we calculate the factorial of a number. So if I say that factorial of a number n, so what it means? It means that we multiply all the numbers from n down towards 1. Okay, we start from n and we go towards 1 and we reduce each number by 1 and then we multiply the values. So that is mean the factorial of 5. So now how to write the factorial of 5? So for this we just write 5 and after it we write exclamation mark. So this is actually how we write the factorial of 5. So now let's see that how we can calculate the factorial of any number n. So basically there are two methods to calculate the factorial of any number n. The first is iterative method by using loops, and the second is recursive method where the function call itself. So let's see one by one that how we can use these methods to calculate the factorial of any number n. So let's start from the first method, which is iterative method using loops. So for this, first of all, I create a function and I name the function that factorial iterative, and it is a simple function. So inside the function parameter, I will receive the number n for which I want to calculate the factorial. So inside the function, first of all, I will create a variable. So let's name the variable result. So I assign the value 1 to the variable result because multiplying by 1 won't change the answer. After it, we will use for loop. So I write for loop. So I said let I is equal to, so here I write the n, the number for which we want to calculate the factorial. So I write here n. After it, I write that as long as I will be greater than or equal to 1. So this is the condition that as long as I will be greater than or equal to 1, continue execute this loop. After it, I will write decrement function. So why decrement function? Because we are reducing each number by 1. So that's why I write here decrement function. So curly braces. So inside the loop, I will write result and I write here the multiplication assignment operator. So I write here multiply equal sign and here I write I. Inside the loop, in each iteration, we multiply the result by the current value of the I. After it, I will return the result. So this is the iterative method using loop by using which we can calculate the factorial of any number n. So let's check it. So for calculating the factorial, I just write here console.log and I call the function factorial iterative, and inside parameter, now I want to calculate the factorial of any number n. So for example, let's calculate the factorial for number 5. So if I write 5 here, now this will print the result of the factorial of 5. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see it is printed 120. It is saying that factorial of 5 is equal to 120. So let's see that is it true that factorial of 5 is equal to 120? So let's write here console.log and inside console.log we calculate the factorial of 5. So how to calculate the factorial of 5? Multiply every number and moving down towards 1. If I write here, I write backtick and factorial of 5 is, and inside curly braces, I just write this operation. So 5 into multiply by 4 into 3 into 1. So just paste it here. So now we will check that the result that our function returns, that this is the factorial of 5, which is 120. So now we will see that is actually 120 is actually the factorial of 5. So if I save the file and again if I run the file, So now you see, they both are the same. This is the 120 value which is returned by the function, and this is the factorial of 5 which we write custom here. So now we see that our function is working fine. This function is working fine. So if I change here, so instead of 5, if I just write 3, so now if I remove this one, so now factorial of 3 should be 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So now these both should be same. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see both are the same. So now our this function is absolutely working fine. So now let's see the second method, which is the recursive method. So in recursion, the function call itself until a certain point is reached, and that point is known as the base case. So first of all, I create a function and I name function as factorial using recursive, and it's a simple function, and inside function parameter I will receive the number for which I want to calculate the factorial. So inside function, first of all, we will write our base case. So what is base case? If n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1. So this is our base case. If n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, in this case, what we do, we will return 1. So this is our base case. Okay, so if I write here, this is our base case. If n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, then return 1. If any one condition will be true, in this case, we are returning 1. So why we write this condition? Because by definition, the factorial of 0 and the factorial of 1, this is equal to 1. So this is the by definition in the mathematical. So if these conditions are not true, the function not reach at the 1 or the 0. So in this case, what we will do, we will multiply the n by the factorial of n minus 1. So I write here return n multiply by, I write the same function factorial recursive. So let's copy this and paste it here, and inside function parameter I write n minus 1. So now this is the recursive method to calculate the factorial of any number n. So now how this function works. So for example, if we want to calculate the factorial of 5, so here in our case n is equal to 5. First of all, n is equal to 5, so it will check that if n is equal to 0, no, n is not equal to 0, n is equal to 5. Okay, second condition, if n is equal to 1, no, n is not equal to 1, n is 5. Okay, so now this block will not be executed. The function goes next. Next, what we are doing? We are multiplying the n with a factorial of n minus 1. Okay, so now how this works? If n is equal to 5, here we will paste 5. So 5. So we are multiplying by 5 with which number? With the factorial of n minus 1, which is 4. If n is 5, so 5 minus 1, 4. So we are multiplying by 5 with a factorial of 4. So here we write factorial of 4. Okay, so now we want to calculate the factorial of 4. Again, what we do? We will place n is equal to 4. So if n is equal to 4, then again it will check that is these conditions are true? No, these conditions are not true. Again it will return 4 multiplied by factorial of n minus 1, which is 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. So now second step is 4 multiplied by factorial of 3, which is n minus 1. So now in the second step, in the second iteration, it will become 4 multiplied by factorial of 3. Similarly, it is decreasing by one number in each iteration. When we want to calculate factorial of 3, we place here 3. So if I write here 3, 3 minus 1, which is 2, we place here 2. Similarly, factorial of 2 will be 2 minus 1, which is 1. So now when it reaches to the factorial of 1, so when we want to calculate factorial of 1, so if n is equal to 1, now in this condition what we are doing, it is checking if n is equal to 0, no, n is not equal to 0, n is equal to 1. Okay, if n is equal to 1, yes, n is equal to 1 here. So now in this condition, what we will do, we will return 1 and multiply the answer with the 1, it won't change the answer. So that's how we calculate the factorial of 5 using the recursive method. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see factorial of 5 is 120. Here we are calculating factorial of 5 and factorial of 5 is 120. We see before that the factorial of 5 is equal to 120 by using the iterative method. So now this recursive method for calculating the factorial of any number n, it is also working fine. So now you see that This approach looks very clean, but it uses extra memory due to multiple function calls. For example, if I write here a very big number, so for example, if I write here 50, so the factorial of 50 is a very big number. If I run the file, so you see the factorial of 50 is a very big number, which is 3.04 10 to the power 64. So this is a very big number. 10 to the power 64 is a very big number. So in this case, when we have to calculate the factorial of a very big number, we prefer the iterative method, which is using loop. So this method is preferable when we want to calculate the factorial for a very big number. But in case of small numbers, we use this method because it looks very cleaner and shorter. That's all for this video. Now you understand better that how to find the factorial of a number using both loops and the recursive method. Let me know in the comments that which method do you prefer. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep coding and keep growing.